What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Our Shared Experience. Today, we're talking about the shared experience about being a beginner and how much fun and how much easier it is to be a beginner in almost any situation. I read an incredible little post the other day, and I was like, this should be talked about more often, right? Because as beginners, when we begin any subject, I believe there's this freedom, right? There's this like innate freedom that we have to mess up, right? If we're starting a garage band and we don't even know how to play an instrument, it doesn't matter. We just want to go like jam out and live in the sort of imaginary creative expression of like making music. And then as we start to develop those skills, as we start to learn guitar, as we start to understand the way that music is created and should be laid out, and we start to sort of apply all these limitations and rules to what we're doing, all of a sudden we become extra critical about ourselves and what we're creating. And I think a lot of that has to do with comparison, but also what we've seen around us. And then this sort of expectation of what we should be doing at this point of our career, because I've been doing it long enough where I should sound like other people that I've listened to and loved, right? But this applies to everything, right? I think it's one of those things where, especially in the beginning, we are able to celebrate way more progressions and successes and little wins almost on the daily. And I see it all of the time in parkour. You know, I bring someone in to do a private lesson or teach, and what's crazy about it is so many of the parkour fundamentals, these vaults that you can do, I could teach you almost every fundamental vault in the beginning, your first day, right? And you can learn all these things. Next thing you know, you have like 10 to 12, maybe 15 new skills almost your first day of trying parkour. And that is incredible. It's a gateway. It's like, oh my God, look at all the stuff I learned. And then the next week you come in and all of a sudden you learn maybe 3 or 4 more skills that week. And then a couple weeks later, what you realize is that it's not necessarily, it becomes not learning a new grand thing. It's not a new ability. It's not, I can do this now. It's fine tuning. And I think the difference between beginners and pros is like this fleshed out efficiency that comes through the very detailed aspects of the skill in which that pro is doing, right? So in parkour, when you watch a professional parkour athlete move, someone who's been training for years and years and years, there's an efficiency. There's like a minute spacing between a knee and a ledge in the space. It's like, that's why I love watching pros move, because if you watch a lot of this stuff in slow motion, when they're vaulting over something, it's like millimeters of space between the thing in which they're like jumping over, or this and that, or they're landing directly on the edge. And the problem with that is as we progress in our sport or our skill, it's harder for us to celebrate those smaller achievements because it's a little harder to see. It's not like we can look at a video and really like notice the difference, because it's not a new skill, it's a refining of a skill. So the other side of this podcast that I really want to talk about in terms of the fun of being a beginner, and so I want to jump subjects, but I'm going to stay on this, is that it's fun. So just begin. I know so many people are stuck in the idea of like, I want to do this thing, but I haven't started. I want to do this thing, but I haven't started. And I myself am someone who, and this was the other point I was going to get at, is loves to start things, right? I love to start things, progress, but I don't love to finish things. There's like, and I notice it in my life. I notice it in like weird places, right? Like I'll like eat a piece of pizza down to like a 1-inch piece of crust, and for whatever reason, I don't finish it. And once I became aware of this, I started to try to like make sure that I always finish it, because I think that it's a direct reflection of this other stuff, this like, I don't know, inner thing of not finishing the things that I started. And I'm trying to make it a point to become conscious of that, and make sure that I always finish. Always finish, yeah. So I see, finish, end, period. But I think that so many of us get stuck in that, right? We love to start stuff because it's so much more fun, it's so much more exciting. And maybe that is enough. I mean, again, if I want to learn to play music, or, recently I started to learn how to tattoo, and I picked up hand poke, like needle and all these books, and I got ink, and I got the whole deal. Like I went out and I got as much of the professional style stuff as I can, the wraps, the transfers, all the different things that you would need to do this professionally. And I started to tattoo my feet, and I started to figure it out, and then I lost a little bit of excitement for it, because I think there's still a part of me that doesn't know how to do it. I don't know how to refine it. I'm stuck because I was able to start it. I was able to create. I was able to tattoo my feet, and they're tattoos that I'm happy with, and they were clean enough, and I felt like, oh, that's pretty good. But I'm stuck without the mentor or teacher, and I keep trying to look up all these tutorials about like the finer details of how much a needle should go in, and how it should feel, and the direct angle, and the way you should stretch the skin, and all these things that people talk about, but they don't really give you like the refined version of what that should be. And so I'm kind of stuck being like, well, I can keep tattooing myself, but I guess that's the problem, is that I'm going to have to learn through trial and error. And with something like tattoos, how much do you really want to mess up a tattoo on yourself that is going to be there forever? It's a hard craft to like practice, because your mistakes are permanent. And maybe that's like a beautiful lesson in of itself, that I should probably just like deal with and work through, because I want to do it. I want more of it. And I would love to be able to like do it for friends and pass on my craft, but I'm not comfortable tattooing my friends until I really work out my ability to do it consistently. And yeah. So anyway, yeah, just begin. If you're stuck somewhere, I would say just get it going, because one of the funnest things you can do is begin a new thing and start to learn all those lessons and progress very quickly. But I do urge you, don't get stuck in this as it starts to dip back down and become a little bit slower, because naturally that is what is always going to happen. It is very easy to begin something, but it's very hard to keep the beginner state of mind throughout. So as a professional parkour athlete, I could very easily get stuck in like doing the higher level skills that I can do, but the truth is I can always bring that beginner mind with me. I can always like continue to explore, as long as I don't hold myself too accountable to being a professional, right? If I get stuck in like, well, I'm at this state in my career, and if I am messing around with a new thing and I look stupid, then are other people going to think that I'm like I'm not an actual professional because I'm over here looking like an idiot trying something new? And that is something that I battle with a lot, is that I, especially being on tour, hosting events, going to an event where you have a lot of young athletes looking up to you, that you're there with your pro signature model shoe, with a tour bus wrapped with your image on the side of it, and you have all this crazy stuff, and you show up, and now it's like, well, if I want to try something that I don't know if I'm capable of, how will these people look at me? And that is something on my own that I'm dealing with on my own, is like dealing with outside perspective and being okay with the vulnerability of messing up in front of others, of trying something new, of, and that is something even in competition that I deal with, where I stopped wanting to compete, because I was like, well, if I don't win, then are people going to look down on me, or am I going to give them the fuel to say, see, I told you he wasn't actually very good? And like, that's my own shit. But like at the end of the day, I'm like I'm like ripping something away from myself. I'm like keeping something away that is so beautiful, which is the freedom to live as a beginner even as your skills progress. So I urge you today, maybe it's something you've already done, maybe you're very good at something, but maybe there's more you can learn, and maybe there's something that you've been wanting to kind of play with or try that you're just staying away from because you feel like there's already an efficiency behind what you're doing, and that efficiency is good enough. So maybe it is good enough, but maybe it's a little bit more fun, and maybe there's a better version of whatever it is that you're doing, or however you are doing something, to try something new. Because I believe there are lessons in everything, even outside of sports, right? If I'm a pro parkour athlete and I'm messing around skateboarding is going to teach me something that I can apply to parkour, and vice versa. So let the lessons of being a beginner in any new thing help influence your life and build you up and make you a better person across all platforms of the things that you love to do. Bit of an odd one, I think, but thank you guys for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, let me know in the comment section below if you're watching on YouTube, or leave a review on any of the major podcast platforms. Thank you guys again for watching. Be sure to hit that notification bell, and if you enjoyed this, hit that like button. I love it. Thank you guys for being here with me. Peace out.